WCS Summer 2019, the final day has descended upon us. 80 players have gathered here in the Cybersport Arena for their chance, but today, only 8 players remain for that WCS title. This beautiful trophy awaits as the fans have gathered from all over Kiev to witness StarCraft 2 history being rewritten. Today, only one player will be crowned. Only one player will walk away and cement their legacy as a StarCraft 2 champion, so get ready. It all starts here and now. This is the World Championship Series.
The best players in the Western world descended on Kiev and have now found themselves here in the top 8 of WCS Summer to find out who is going to become our champion for Summer 2019. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the desk. My name is Kyle Larson. To my left, joining me, esteemed gentlemen in De Muslim and Rotterdam. This is where everything gets tense. This is where everything gets very, very serious. And we could not have a better lineup for our top 8 here to get things going for today, Ben.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is one of the most consistent top 8s we've ever had kind of thing. Like, we got notified that 7 of the players in the top 8 now were in the top 8 of Spring. The only change is, instead of Goblin, we have HeroMarine.
Yeah.
So I think things actually got even more solid than they did from that previous tournament as well.
Roddy?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love Goblin, you gotta say that Big A probably belongs in there. I mean, of course, some people say, what about Lambo? What about maybe a Drogo? Like, yeah, those guys could have made it, but this is really not hyperbole, pre-show, let's hype it up. This is a really good top 8.
Yeah.
I like what Ben said yesterday, where he said, I think Time is the best Chinese player of all time. I know that's kind of a big statement. People are like, oh, well, actually, guys, he really is.
Yeah.
Because he's actually not just good, he doesn't just win, but he wins convincingly and he wins with style and macro-oriented play as well. In the past, we had some successful Chinese players, but often off the back of a lot of low worker games.
Yeah.
They had their one-dimensional styles. We didn't know them so well. Time is just so damn good across the board, so I'm super excited for him. Top of that, we've got Reino. We've got a dream matchup between Neep and Serral.
Yes.
I mean, James, how many WCS tournament championships did all of these guys win together? Because that has to be over 10 easily.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent here when it comes to our 8 top players. And actually, just for a moment here to talk about Time for a second, I'm even more excited for Time because if the top 8 stays like this all the way to BlizzCon, Time would be the first Chinese representative to go to a BlizzCon since 2012. Which is ridiculous to think of. So that also kind of, I think, solidifies your opinion in that he is the best Chinese player of all time, because I mean, the skill of StarCraft just keeps going up and up, Ben.
Yeah, and like, you know, we've had good Chinese players before. You know, we've had the Gyms of the world, but they've
Max
been very one-dimensional. And the thing about Time, he brings it all. He's a very well-rounded player.
Yeah.
If you watch him play, it's very reminiscent of the Korean Terrans, and it makes sense because he practices with those guys all the time. But like, not just to hype up Time, you've got him against Showtime in the first round.
Yes.
HeroMarine special, Reina Neeps. Oh, this is amazing.
Well, gentlemen, of course, it's not only the trophy that is on the line as well, but also the money that is on the line here for all of these players as we get things going. As $100,000 in total is up for grabs here, with the lion's share going to first place for $20,000. Of course, many a time we have seen Serral win that out. Let's see if someone can topple the god here of WCS. And of course, let's talk about how the playoffs work as well here, as we do have best of 5s all the way through to that Grand grand final, which will be a best of 7. Again, which oftentimes has not been super close, but maybe we shall have a little bit of a difference here when it comes to our summer circuits. Gentlemen, when we look at our top 8 once again, you mentioned HeroMarine, you know, swapped out kind of a Goblin for our previous spring, and I would echo your sentiments. I think that as much as, yes, we give a lot of credit to Goblin, HeroMarine is an upgrade here for our top 8, and I couldn't think of a better top 8 when it comes to the lineup we have.
I mean, like, the race distribution is also really good. We got 3 Terrans, 2 Protosses, and 3 Zergs. Like, you know, if Reddit was anything to go by, it'd be like 7 Protoss. But no, it's much fairer here. It's a great distribution. We've got pretty much every matchup displayed and no mirrors in the top 8, which is
and
cool.
that patch didn't even hit yet, guys. So cherish those 2 Protosses. No, I'm just memeing. I obviously love it. It's also a very international top 8 once again, by the way. If just Scarlet would have been able to defeat Showtime, then once again, James, you would have had your 8 different nations into the top 8. Right now, we do have the 2 German players, of course, in the quarterfinal. But other than that, we've got a little bit of everything. I think Special against Raynor is a matchup that really stands out for me as well. Because if you think back of the very first breakthrough performance of Raynor, other than the WCS Valencia when he was like 12, and that was really cute, but we didn't really know how good he was yet. You go back to WESG 2017, when he was still 15, and he wasn't allowed to compete yet in this in the international circuit of StarCraft 2 in WCS, because he wasn't 16 yet. But back then he met Special in, I think, the round of 16 of that tournament, and he played against, they played against each other. Raynor won 3-0. It was like, oh my goodness. After that, unfortunately, 15-year-old Raynor did fall to Maru. But back then, that was like the first time that he really was put on the map internationally. People were like, damn, this Italian kid, offline in China, he just 3-0'd Special. The best Terran outside of Korea. That was massive.
Oh, sorry, I was just looking at the statistics for Special against Raynor as well. Like, back in the day, Special used to have Raynor's number, and that was quite an obvious thing. But then Raynor, in the last 12 maps that they've played against one another, Special's only won 1 of them.
Let's talk about our first game of the day, though. HeroMarine going up against Elazer. Of course, Elazer was here in the round of 8 in spring. However, HeroMarine was not. The big thing to take away here from me, though, is that HeroMarine just came through a round of 16 match, and in my mind, in convincing fashion, took the 3-0 against sort of. So, is HeroMarine the confident HeroMarine, as you can vote for who your favorite is in Twitch chat as well? Is the confident HeroMarine going to be able to go an extra step further here?
I mean, they already played against each other once in this tournament, and HeroMarine was able to defeat Elazer 2-0. On top of that, you know, the time before they played, which was an assembly qualifier very recently, HeroMarine was able to win that one as well. But Elazer absolutely did have his victories over HeroMarine, and the one thing that Elazer has going for himself is that he's rather an unpredictable Zerg. He can be very aggressive, he has his timings, and there are some Zergs that say like, yeah, Big Gabe is really good. HeroMarine, of course, being Big Gabe, but he can be a bit predictable. He likes to sit back a lot. Elazer is a smart player, though. Elazer is a previous WCS champion, of course, as he was the only one to take away one of those titles of Neep in 2017. So he knows how to win series as well, but I'm definitely still leaning towards HeroMarine because of, like you said, James, he didn't just beat sort of, he dismantled him. He made it look easy.
I think you bring up a really good point. Elazer, he studies VODs a lot, and he looks to execute weaknesses in his opponent and really abuse that. The thing is, HeroMarine's got it all. He can play mech, he can play bio. We saw a lot of those BC openers, but we also saw like crazy timings from him where he did that 2-base all-in against sort of. So he also can just mix it up, and that makes it much harder for Elazer to really pinpoint a weakness in HeroMarine.
Yep, HeroMarine is definitely not a one-dimensional Terran either, right? It's like you said, he's not only capable of executing all those styles, I think he's also a player that does put a lot of thought into those games, you know? He's one to be the most vocal about. These online matches, they don't matter. He doesn't even sign up for these online tournaments anymore. You know why, James? He calls it a scam. He's like, I have to play 18 best of 3s to win a couple $100. He's like, it's not worth it. I'll just play ladder. And I'm like, I saw you lose these in these games on ladder. He's like, it's just ladder. It doesn't matter at all. Like, he generally has that attitude, but he's very smart when it comes to approaching a best of 5 as well. And he won't play the same way against Elazer as he did against Sort of, and he wouldn't play the same way against Serral as he would against Elazer.
It's thunder and lightning here in Kiev to get the day going, and it's going to be rumbling here in the studio as well very, very soon. What does Elazer have to do to kind of almost trump who you guys might consider the favorite here?
I think he has to avoid a late game situation with Gabe, honestly. Like, I know Elazer's got a lot of unorthodox like timings and like Nidus networks and stuff that he can like really abuse his opponent, but trying to avoid the late game with Big Gabe is something that I'd aim for, because using Infestors against a guy that can absolutely utilize the whole Terran arsenal, it would be tough.
Yeah, and to echo those sentiments, often there are some scenarios where certain Zergs will be very aggressive in the mid game.
Yeah.
They'll make a big attack, they'll get very far ahead, and then it may look like they won a late game, but that's not actually late game, right? Because they're entering the late game plus 35 workers and plus 2 bases or something like that. I think you're going to see quite a bit of that. Can Elazer be maxed out and defeat Big Gabe? Absolutely, but he has to be quite far ahead in that scenario to begin with, because if he just lets, you know, HeroMarine get comfortable, get those 4 bases up and running, if we ever get that nice mix of Ghost Liberators, you know, Liberators with the advanced ballistics upgrade as well, I am definitely favoring our German Terran.
Terrifying prospect here for Elazer going up against HeroMarine for our first series of the day. This is WCS Summer, and the fights begin right now.
Wow, we are getting straight into it, ladies and gentlemen. I am Maynard, and with me is Fear Dragon in the bottom left here of New Repugnancy, the German Terran in the blue. This is Mouse Sports' HeroMarine.
And up at the top right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player, the Polish player from Team Go. He is Elazer.
Well timed out. Well, we're starting quarterfinals off with a bang. Well, you are watching the round of 8 of WCS Summer, so we're getting to the business end, and we are broadcasting every single best of 5, which of course includes the semifinals and then the grand finale.
Every single match is going to get covered from this point on,
right.
and this is a really fun match to start with. Both of these guys have already faced each other earlier on during the group stages of this event. HeroMarine took the 2-0, but he actually said during the interview that it was a close match, so I want to see what's going on in this one.
Well, we saw, if you guys managed to catch HeroMarine versus Sordov yesterday, he really liked those battlecruiser openings. He did it every single game, and every single game he started off very, very strong. Some of them were bio transitions, some of them were mech transitions. Now, Acropolis is a little bit stronger for the mech style, but HeroMarine, either way he sliced it, came out with a success in the end. Seems to be a real master of this build, and no doubt Elazer's done his homework. So I'm hoping, for Elazer's sake, that he can react a little bit better than Sordov in this series.
Yeah, and Elazer is one of those players that I think comes into a series with a good variety of those builds. I mean, it's kind of funny because we were talking about the aggression that Elazer can throw out in his earlier matches, but funny enough, he was playing a little bit more macro-oriented. So I want to see, how do you respond? Because it's not just one battlecruiser build. It's the, oh, I'm going to make a single battlecruiser build and transition out straight into the bio, or I'm going to get 3 or 4 battlecruisers, continue producing them, going into mech and all sorts of other things that Elazer has to be a little bit wary of. And Elazer's the kind of player that likes to get aggressive very early on, so that might be a way to just try and beat things out.
Yeah, he certainly does have those low drone, big attack timings in every single matchup, really. The Reaper here, if HeroMarine having a bit of a look. Reason why Terrans really like this map, they have some terrain to play with here for the Reaper. To the south of the natural, to the left of the main, there's so many ledges. And also lots of ledges in the middle of the map for tank pushes and that sort of thing as well when you start to get towards the Zerg's infrastructure. And HeroMarine, he went for Marine before the reactor here for that factory, which isn't the biggest of deals. Just shows that he's respecting Elazer. You know, he didn't know about that pull timing, didn't SCV scout, so he's just covering his bases, literally and figuratively.
Indeed. Star Power, of course, going up, and I would be honestly a little bit surprised if he doesn't end up throwing down that fusion core just based on how he's playing versus sort of, but it is absolutely possible for him to go for some of those other openings we weren't talking about. Yeah. I
mean, at the moment with this Reaper, he's seeing where the Overlords are for Elazer, and none of them are actually on his side of the map. Elazer's looking for the, you know, the aggressive Terran strategies. And HeroMarine might be able to just get straight into the reactive starport here. I mean, into the Tech Lab starport. That's a lovely catch from Elazer, by the way. An unfortunate mistake for HeroMarine. Now he can't follow up scout what the Zerg is doing, and he's basically blind until those Hellions get across the map. And as I was going to say, the reason why I don't think this is BC, we're seeing it right now as Stim starts up, is because he got the Tech Lab immediately on the barracks. Normally, if you want to go BC, you get a couple Marines first. They only just made the one, but you usually get a couple to stop the Overlords from getting in and seeing the strat.
I'm so glad you pointed out the Overlord scouting, because Elazer is one of those few Zerg players that says, I am only going to send one Overlord out, but actually sending no Overlords out is definitely saying, okay, I don't want to lose any of these. I feel comfortable against whatever you're going to be pulling out at me, or he feels like he knows what's going to be coming. And we do see that those Lings now moving around the map, catching one of the Hellions is going to possibly be able to pick it off. No, ends up backing off, and the Hellion will be able to return back home. We'll see how much damage that Liberator can do, as it will be coming out shortly.
Yes, indeed. Liberator looking to try and hit one place while the Hellions hit in the other. And we're seeing, I mean, we already knew it was going to be Bio as the stim comes down. The extra couple barracks is going down to round out the production. 3 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport for HeroMarine as he heads towards the 3rd base and trying to take a bit of map control away from the Zerg. All very stock standard so far.
Yep, already got the Spore Crawlers coming up here for Elazer, so he's getting up just the safety defenses. Remember, he has been a little bit more in the dark about things, but the Spore Crawler is going to help out against the Liberator. It would help out against potential Banshees and everything. It's just a good thing to get around this time, and as the Liberator moves in, the Spore Crawlers are done and ready to help defend.
Certainly. Liberator get up on the main base, has a nice little corner here outside of Spore range. Reaction from Elazer pretty good though, hasn't lost any drones. Actually a very nice reaction. Spore Crawler can unburrow and get right there within seconds under that Liberator and shoos it back. So just a nice little bit of mining time. Good reaction from the Zerg.
Yeah, and good creep spread also from Elazer, because normally this is around the time that the Hellions would also try and poke around, try and find maybe an opportunity to sneak on in, roast a drone or 2, or even just a couple of lings, but there is a decent amount of creep spread already going here for Elazer, so these Hellions have really been pushed back, and he's not even bothering to spend any scan energy to clean up any of these creep tumors. He's sort of just letting it grow and happen, and I do wonder if that's going to come back to bite him.
Well, drop timing here for Big Gabe, heading out there on the map to try and get some more damage done to the Zerg.
Evolution Chambers finishing up there, so he's going to be able to start up his own upgrades and play a little bit of catch-up there, as HeroMarine already has his going, but here come the Marines, going to be joining forces with those Hellions, and there are going to be this first set of scans.
Yeah, quite a few Marines here in the early stages as he prioritizes a little bit more production over that economy here. The Banelings of Elazer are done. Obviously, they're far away from having speed, so he does need to be careful. Needs to try and get the Terran a little bit deeper on creep here. Try and connect with those Marines. So far, it's just trading a little bit against those Queens. None of them really falling just yet.
Yeah, Elazer having a really easy time holding that high ground and actually gets the Queens far enough forward to re-spread the creep before it all recedes. So all of that damage with the scan that HeroMarine was able to do, Elazer is just going to set that back.
I mean, HeroMarine's usually very, very good at denying creep. He's very, very good at multitasking. It's just the first medevacs for now, but no doubt more will join in shortly enough as he gets those extra couple medevacs out of that starport. He's still consistently making Marines out of those 3 barracks as he's 1-1 upgrades halfway done. So we're going to see a bit more presence this Terran, and even with Widow Mines out, that's when you get those real money shots and start trading excellently against the Zerg's army. Yeah,
when you think of players like HeroMarine, you think of things like parade pushes. You think of that constant rally forward from the Terran player that eventually in like the mid-game becomes a big problem for the Zerg. So that is the big thing that I think HeroMarine really, really hits his stride in. I want to see how things go with that. But Burrow is coming out right now, Maynard.
Oh, I like it. Burrowed Banelings. The Zerg have had mines all this time, and people forget sometimes. Scan. Oh, that's a really juicy scan, actually. A lot of creep denied here.
Yep, gets every single one of those active creep tumors on the low ground. There is a link run over to the 3rd base, and there's only a couple of Hellions over here right now.
This is a lovely run by here from Elazer, denying mining time and getting SCV kills. Yes, please. And then he pieces on out. Marine flank.
Marine flank is going to be able to catch all of these lings on the retreat. Barely 2 of them managed to escape on out of there. Now, this did buy Elazer a little bit more time at the front, but it was very, very costly. And HeroMarine looks like he has a large enough army to start pushing into that 4th base.
Especially with these Widow Mines. Banelings do have speed. Big Gay pre-splitting off creep here. He does take some big connections to the Marine count, but still plenty left to start pushing it back. HeroMarine knows exactly how much he needs to get the job done. He's got the math in his head, and can he actually push Elazer back towards the hatchery here?
Elazer just finished up his 1-1 upgrades, and he's just waiting for the next round of Banelings to finish up as well. That creep is going to start receding, and it seems like actually so is HeroMarine. HeroMarine starting to back off, saying, okay, that's a lot of Banelings. Maybe I don't want to fight that head on right now. He starts up his 2-2. He gets back into position to make sure there can't be any more Ling run-bys as 3rd. And he is actually already prepared a bit for any potential run-bys as natural.
Yeah, rallying across the map here at this point is certainly a bold decision, so he is definitely leaving some of those units at home. So Baneling going down to Widowmine here, fading it on out.
Got some Hydras on the way, starting up the +1 missile attack upgrade there for Elazer, so he's not going to be continuing anymore on those melee upgrades for a little bit. 1 burrowed Baneling. Does HeroMarine know about it yet? Well, hold that thought. We do see more and more of these Banelings running off of creep, looking for some of those Marine connections. They do manage to successfully push HeroMarine back.
And HeroMarine's going for Drilling Claws and 2-2 upgrades here, and while Drilling Claws and Bio is certainly really, really good, against Lingbane Hydra, you definitely prefer to have some tanks. But if you have enough production and you can trade well enough against the Lingbane, the Hydras really do melt to the Bio once they get on top of them.
Yeah, Drilling Claws, such a scary upgrade for a lot of these Lings and Banelings here. And it really just increases the cost efficiency of the Terran
good
Bio.
catch. Banelings, see you later.
That's the ideal hit, getting the Banelings over the Lings. Now, some of those...
Borrowed Banes.
Every Widowmine pickoff is going to be big here.
Borrowed Banes.
Oh, nice connection. Also revealing Burrow right there, so HeroMarine knows he has to be on the lookout for it.
And he gets about 6 Marines there by the looks of things. Still pushing back the creep and really prioritizing creep here in the middle of the map. No surprises there. Seeing the players' hands there on the keyboard in the bottom left of the map. Widowmine connecting some of those Lings there as more stream into this third base, getting some of those hurt SCVs from earlier.
Elazer is doing such a fantastic job with these Ling run-bys. He's not necessarily getting game-ending damage done with any of them, but he's consistently pressuring HeroMarine. Now, this fight is not going so well for Elazer.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is an overextension.
Oh,
yeah. Does get some of those Marines, but it still looks like there's so much army here for the Terran. Oh, this is cute. a couple Zerglings burrow themselves and reveal themselves again, getting on top of those undefended SCVs, and he goes burrows again. Such a frustrating upgrade to deal with. It's actually might force him to make some turrets that he really doesn't want to use, or some scans he doesn't want to burn. Well, I mean, he has 2/2 upgrades, and that's really, really nice. The Zerg is actually switching over into ranged upgrades and +2 Carapace for the Hydras and heading towards Hive. It's taken a while to get that Hive, though. You know, it's heading towards 11 minutes, and he's only just barely started the Hive. So there is a window here where HeroMarine can have 3-3 way before the Zerg has a good number of tier 3 scary stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And +3 weapons is already starting up, and that is the big scary upgrade there for the Terran player. Some more Lings run on in. The rest of the Lings actually unburrow, and he is just being so annoying with this. At the same time that he has HeroMarine distracted, he's going to try and run in. A Widowmine does connect.
It certainly does. Lings pushing HeroMarine back, and I don't see too many more Widowmines in this force here. He does have that planetary to fall back to. The third's a little bit more vulnerable, but there's a lot more units there. Burrow Banes again from Elazer. A great connection on the Marines. HeroMarine still managing to be quite close on army supply as the dust settles, though, and catching some Hydras. Unfortunately, their AI pathing not working out for Elazer here.
Yeah, the missile turret does actually see these Lings, but HeroMarine has been so busy with the main army engagements, he has not had a chance to clean them up, and it looks like he finally will. I think those missile turrets are such a smart investment at this point. You've got to be prepared for not only the burrowed Banelings in the middle of the map, but burrowed Lings in your bases.
Certainly, certainly. So we see Elazer just sort of poking the front here before he commits for the rest of his Lings. HeroMarine too smart for that action. He sees the run by here of Elazer and pushes it back for now. That is something he has to keep in his mind as he still tries to gain control of the middle of the map here. More borrowed Banelings from Elazer. They've been pretty effective in this game. They haven't been like critically effective, but they've been effective. They've been slowing down the army growth here of HeroMarine. Lots of Lings. He's going to pull back to that planetary. Yeah,
planetary is not a place where those Lings want to be right now. Elazer is going to be up against a Fusion Core, and more starports being added on. And here we go. The Lings and Banelings starting to get a bit of a surround on a lot of that Bioforce. So HeroMarine picks up and retreats with the Banelings rolling on in.
Yeah, the Widowmines are actually on the other side of the planetary here, and now it goes down. And that's a massive pick off. The Terran knocked down to 3 bases here. The Zerg still powering on 5. So that's a great economy for the Zerg. He catches some of those burrowed Banelings, but HeroMarine actually needs to do a ton of damage with his army right now.
He's moving across the map. +3 weapons for HeroMarine is very, very close to finishing at this point. Ultra's Cavern may have finished up, but Elazer still needs a little bit more time to get up the chitinous plating upgrade to really maximize the utility of those Ultras.
Yeah, and HeroMarine's actually giving him some breathing space here. It really felt like he was going to use that army supply advantage to try and go across the map and do something, you know, try and pick off a hatchery if the dream can come true, but he's actually pulling back and just waiting for those upgrades, waiting for more Liberators. He doesn't feel confident to break through Elazer's army.
Yeah, okay, we're starting to see another Ultra Cavern actually getting started up over here, but he is losing a lot of units over here in the center. There's another Ling run by again prepared, and he scans forward. He sees the burrowed Banelings this time, but he's not prepared for the Ling run by.
That's a lovely run by here for Elazer. Obviously, if you can get on top of some of this production, you can catch some of those units coming out, get those SCVs left in the main as well. There's not that many, but any damage is nice. Lings are quite cheap and inexpensive here for Elazer as his bank starts to grow, heading towards max tier Spire, and that's second Ultra Cavern that you mentioned, 3/4 of the way done.
Yeah. Man, Elazer has been doing such a good job just keeping HeroMarine constantly multitasking, dealing with these random run-bys, dealing with the burrowed Banelings, dealing with the main army engagements. It has been non-stop action this game, but finally things are starting to at least pull back a little bit as those upgrades are now finished up for HeroMarine.
Yeah, this is a really, really nice game from Elazer. He's been pushing a HeroMarine back off his side of the map all game long, and he is inside the Terran's infrastructure. Just a few Lings, but still so annoying to have to use army resources to come back and actually deal with it. And Elazer finds another opening with these Lings. These run-bys are so good.
This is so annoying. Maynard, when was the last time we saw HeroMarine actually attacking a hatchery in this game? Elazer has been so aggressive, and now he's actually starting to break through on a lot of these Marines at the front, but the Planetary Fortress adding in a lot of DPS. A couple Liberators dying, but man, that Liberator harass is going great.
Yeah, this one's going all right here. 9 drones going down the other side of the map. Losing a lot of SCVs on the front line does certainly sting for HeroMarine. His economy certainly leaves a little bit wanting here for the Terran. Engaging that planetary was an overextension for Elazer, but it's kind of like he can kind of afford these trades a little bit more than HeroMarine can. Like, a bad fight for HeroMarine would be actually game-ending.
Yeah, HeroMarine has got that scary army still building up. He's scanning forward on creep, but he has to still work his way through a good chunk of it to actually get on top of one of these hatcheries to do real damage here. Bailey's come crashing on in for the high ground.
You can actually see with the eye tracker that he didn't catch the flank on the bottom here. Elazer getting in there with an ultra as well. A lot of that bio gets pulled back. Nice micro from HeroMarine. The Liberator's doing a lot of damage here to the Queens, but it looks like they might actually hold the line here for HeroMarine. He started stepping around those ultras. Oh, the bio is so hurt, though. It is so low in hit points. He has to pick up and leave.
Yeah, there's nothing to do with that one Liberator, but Kaine's plating finish in the middle of that fight. So that first Ultra goes down pretty quick, but the rest of the Ultras, they are going to survive for quite a bit of time. This Liberator, going to find some value, though. The Spore Crawler might need to reburrow, but speaking of reburrowing, we got some more Lings running on around.
Yeah, these things just will not quit putting in work here for Elazer. This Liberator does have advanced ballistics, but it is getting nailed by a Spore Crawler right now. HeroMarine pulling back to the bulk of his forces. Needs to get a little bit more prepared for the Tier 3. I mean, as far as dealing with Tier 3 right now, he seems really unprepared. He's trying to make Cyclones here because he knows that Broodlords are a potential and actually will kill him straight up if Broodlords appear right now. So he's making anything he can just in case to try and deal with them.
Elazer taking 21 drones worth of damage now. He is re-droning very quickly, 11 drones on the way, but he has dropped down to just 56 drones. So there's going to be this small little window where Elazer is only at 134 supply, and he's not really remaxing that quickly. I like the choice of Infestors because you look at Elazer's economy, he's got a lot of gas and not a lot of minerals. That is the time for Infestors.
Now, the army of the Terran is massive right now, and there's not that many Banelings for the Zerg, so this Marine count is actually extremely frightening. Normally you would say, yeah, Ultras would, the Marines basically heal Ultras when they attack them, right? Especially if they're chitinous and +3 armor. There's only 4 of them. That's not that many. Elazer's army is actually quite small. He doesn't have a good number of Broodlords. The Corruptor count's not that high either. So there is actually a window of opportunity for HeroMarine to actually take a really good fight soon.
Yeah, but he is only doing these little pokes and prods right now. He's poking around on the map, maybe clean up some of the creep spread over here. Has to be a little bit wary of potential... Ooh, Widowmine's actually connecting on those Corruptors, softening them up, but has to be wary now of those Infestors. It makes it a lot harder to just poke forward.
The Lings free-splitting just the last second there. Yeah, we got a Liberator on top of that command center, so it is slowly getting rid of these Lings, but the Lings are very quickly getting rid of these SCVs. Yeah, they do have Adrenal and +3 attack. They are quite powerful.
Adrenal Gland's no joke right now, but this is one of those nice things, again, that a Drilling Claws means that those Widowmines are going to stay alive, so HeroMarine is continuing to build up a larger and larger army. He's getting closer and closer to maxed out, whereas Elazer has been bleeding out units. He is now starting to rely on the fact that he is going to get really big fungal growths. If he doesn't, I'm really worried for him in this next fight. Burbanes!
He does get a good cluster of Marines right there. The Marine count of HeroMarine does get softened a little, but there is still so much. The fungal's coming down here from Elazer, but keep in mind that the army of the Terran is still quite large. Elazer's starting to make those numbers a little bit more here, going up towards Infestors. Does he actually have pathogen glands right now? That would definitely make sure that these Infestors can fight right away. He doesn't actually, so it might be a little bit of time before they're useful.
Yeah, right now, Maynard, there aren't that many Lings on the map for Elazer. He's making 34. He's going to have them soon, but a lot of these Ultras already softened up. Here comes some really good fungal growth on a lot of the Bioforce, but isn't enough.
It looks like it might be Fear Dragon. That's a pretty good engagement there for Elazer, and even the Infested Terrans getting amongst it, taking out a few of those air units. The Medivacs, the Liberator's getting pushed back. Elazer is losing a lot of drones here somewhere, but the fight for HeroMarine actually was just an unfortunate trade for the Terran and pushing the Zerg back. And both players are just at a supply count you don't expect at this point, or at a bank that you'd expect. You'd expect the Zerg to have like 5,000, 3,000 gas. And the Terran also is just being non-stop, making him fight and remake units over and over again.
Absolutely. Now the Corruptors are going to be able to annihilate any Liberators that make their way forward, but once those are gone, he's going to be able to start going after the Medivacs. That's going to take away the sustainability.
Yeah, these Infestors actually might have been a mistake for Elazer. While they do have that extra AoE and they do hold things in place, at least make them slow down, it's just actually not that great of a fighting unit, and HeroMarine is killing them every single time he comes in here with his Stim Bio.
Yeah, the Stim Bio is going to start getting picked off by these Lings since they don't have medevac support. The Corruptor is also going to take out those Liberators. So this was most of the army.
Oh, the target fire.
Oh, getting more of those Infestors or almost snagging another one.
Yeah, just barely saves that Infestor there with Burrow. It feels like these Infestors should just be borrowed the whole time. They are so important here for Elazer's army. Widowmine connecting with the Terran units as well as the Zerg units there. HeroMarine actually has enough to fight this back. Fear Dragon, I'm getting very, very worried for Elazer here.
Oh, that Ultra cannot stand alone, and now we're starting to see the GG get called.
Wow.
HeroMarine.
Elazer tore apart the economy of HeroMarine. Run-bys, trades, all up into the mid-game, really, really good. But it felt like the late game, he just didn't feel super, super confident or didn't really have a, a locked-in game plan there against HeroMarine. Whereas HeroMarine, I mean, he's a macro god. Like, late game is his stomping ground. He's more than happy to play it.
I have to say, when the Liberators started coming in, they started getting all those drone kills, it was just this spiral of about a minute and a half, where the Liberators got a bunch of drone kills, and a lot of his run-bys were finally getting shut down by HeroMarine, and then there was that big fight where he was starting to aggressively push into that planetary fortress, and that's when suddenly we saw that Elazer was actually down a lot of supply, and he didn't have a superior economy anymore. I feel like that's the turning point. That was the big moment where Elazer had everything starting to go a little bit wrong.
Yeah. It's losing a few drones as well. Well, he did always have the worker advantage from it felt like the 10-minute mark onwards. HeroMarine really couldn't take it away from him, especially considering he was dealing with Lings on his side of the map for half that game.
Yeah.
He still was doing enough damage to make sure that Elazer didn't have that comfortable bank that I was talking about. He couldn't just inject all day long and then remax his army. He was stuck, like I was looking at that production tab towards the end, just making like 36 Lings. Like against a 3-3 bio army and still Widow Mines in that army as well? I don't think so.
As impressive as a lot of the stuff that Elazer was doing, it is an expensive style in the sense that you're doing all these run-bys and everything. You're investing in Burrow. You're getting so many Banelings. You're being so aggressive. So sure, you're trading versus your opponent's army, but that also means you have to constantly remake that base army, the Lings, the Banelings.
Yeah.
You don't really have a lot of other resources available to start teching.
Yeah, if you have a lot of Infestors, which it looked like was the plan for Elazer, to slow things down, get those Infestors, and then get those tier 3 units that can trade really amazingly, like the Broodlords, like more Ultras. If you have like a lot of Infestors and a lot of Ultras and a lot of Broodlords, the Lings and Banes aren't really necessary anymore. Yeah. But he never got to that point. HeroMarine had that window to kill the Zerg, and he definitely capitalized on it for game 1.
Still, I'm really impressed with both of these players. HeroMarine, especially in the late game, and Elazer, especially in that kind of early mid game. Elazer's aggression was doing such a phenomenal job of keeping HeroMarine pinned back. I was talking about how HeroMarine's this guy who's rally and push in and nonstop aggression after that point. We didn't really even see that.
Well, we're talking about this gentleman, the top left here, currently 1 up in the series. This is the German Terran, Mal Sports' HeroMarine.
And he will be facing off against this fellow down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. The Polish Zerg in the red. He is Elazer.
Certainly is well spotted, Fear Dragon. Eyes like a hawk. Can't get anything past you.
What can I say? I've commentated a game or two of StarCraft at this point.
You have? Me too, a couple. Here and there. I got a couple under my belt. Represented by AGO Esports. It's a team of 1 currently, but no doubt happy to have a player of Elazer's caliber. Currently #1 in Poland, which has been a region so strong for StarCraft.
Oh, absolutely. Since Brood War days, I hear.
Since the Brood War days, yeah. Tasteless has reminded us many times in the last 9 years.
Indeed. So, kind of funny thing that we were talking about last game was that there was a lot of this buildup of, HeroMarine throughout this tournament, especially versus sort of where we saw HeroMarine constantly going for those battlecruiser openings. And then last game, clearly not going for one of those, opening up with a Liberator instead, going into that BIOS style. And that really did also help Elazer kind of take control of the pacing of that early and mid game. He didn't have to have a bunch of queens around or extra spore crawlers made to deal with like a battlecruiser opening. So I wonder what exactly HeroMarine is going to be doing this game.
Well, I have a feeling the BC might be whipped out for game 2 here, Fear Dragon. While game 1 did become a success for him, it was a little bit dicey. Whereas the battlecruiser openings for HeroMarine really were extremely effective against sort of. Maybe Elazer is one of those players where he hits him on the ladder and he's just like, he's too good against that strategy. I'm going to have something else prepared for him. Because these players at this level absolutely have things prepared for certain players and certain individuals. HeroMarine at the moment going for the single gas opening. It's about time for that second one. But he is just going for that Reaper expand. Looks like things all pretty standard here for HeroMarine. And this is the kind of map. Acropolis is a little bit hard to play that sort of like marine tank style. There are some nice locations for tanks to push in. But this is one of those maps where HeroMarine did favor mech, and he actually did it against Sort of on this map. He went from the BC opening into just regular mech, not battle mech, although he did have some Cyclones later on. More the just high numbers of Hellions and tanks to deal with the Hydralisks that Sort of was trying to make for him.
Yeah, do you have anything specific about Acropolis that you feel like really benefits that sort of style, or?
Well, it's just that this is a hard map to get those run-bys on. It's a hard map to try and poke in several places at once. The Zerg, once they get that creep spread up, and also they have this big open area on the low ground where it's hard to sort of have a very safe fourth base. Like you go to the fourth way down there, that's hard to reinforce for a Terran, and if you expand down here on the low ground, you got all that surface area, which Zerg is more than happy to have.
Oh,
they can come from 1,000 different angles, surround your stuff, and get on in there. Run-bys, pretty effective for Zerglings on this map as well. So it's just a few things like that. Generally, when the map's quite open, it is a little bit tough for Terran to do all right against Zerg, like I'm thinking about like Automaton and that sort of thing. But this build from HeroMarine actually does look like the BC opener. He's getting those extra Marines out, no tech lab on that barracks, and I'm expecting a fusion core tucked in next to those minerals for your Dragon.
All right, we're going to be seeing that out of HeroMarine soon. But in the meanwhile, we do see that Reaper just continuing to poke forward. I want to keep an eye on that creep spread as well, because when you're trying to dart around with those queens, very, very slow units off of creep, you need to make sure you get the queens all up in the right positions. And there it is, fusion core being thrown down.
It's almost like he wants to swap over onto it. I have a superstar port.
If only you could swap tech labs over to fusion cores.
Imagine if you could make several tech structures, like a Baneling nest or something, and it makes you morph Banelings faster. Or make battle cruisers faster. Wouldn't that be incredible?
That would be pretty amazing. You should balance the game.
It would actually ruin this game completely. Shower thoughts with Maynard. So, yeah, HeroMarine's got that little force here in the early game of TvZ, which is just the Reaper and the 2 Hellions. A surprisingly effective force if the Zerg's not on top of things. Can always grenade those queens out of the choke points, get into the drone lines, that sort of thing. Like I mentioned, run-bys are a little bit tough on this map because Zerg has that high ground, they have that creep spread. It's just so tough to get those Hellions into those drone lines. Zerg is very, very safe until they go towards 4 bases. Yeah,
looks like Elazer still wants to play with that Ling Bane style for now. He's adding on that Baneling nest. There is that first battlecruiser on the way. The Ling pokes forward. Only sees a small number of Marines over there and sees 2 of those Hellions still sitting back at home, just barely missing out the timing of that third base.
It's interesting that Elazer just doesn't send any Overlords across the map. It's the same as the first game, where he just has a sensor network of Overlords near the edge of his creep, but doesn't rely on them to scout the Terran, just relying on Lings for that.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's a very stylistic thing that I've only seen from Elazer.
Yeah, I really wonder if that's specifically versus HeroMarine, or if versus other Terran players, he oftentimes just goes for like the single Overlord scout, but versus HeroMarine specifically, he just feels like he has such a good read. Because these guys, they both play against each other all the time. Not necessarily even just in tournaments, which they do there too, but even on the ladder.
Absolutely. These players play each other all the time. Yamato, a weapons refit, being researched here for the BCs, which means we're going to be seeing more than one Fear Dragon. And I do believe, with the gases being taken and saturated here in the natural, that once again, HeroMarine is going to show us that BC into mech style here in Acropolis as the extra couple factories get dropped down.
Oh yeah, this style can get very, very scary as the battlecruiser is going to be joining forces with all of those Hellions. Those Lings and Banelings going to have a much, much harder time now as the Queens are going to have their hands full with this battlecruiser.
Normally the battlecruiser teleports somewhere else so the Hellions can have free reign, but they're actually just being one big blob of Terran deathball here. I mean, the Banelings are actually getting targeted down and destroyed here by HeroMarine. He's trading really well against these Zerg units.
Oh, absolutely. And look at this. Battlecruiser can just retreat on out. He'll get repaired back up. And these Queens, while they have done a good job surviving, they will be able to push back the Hellions. Like you said, it's about all of the trades that Elazer had to make there. So many Lings taken out. He has to remake those Lings. And we were talking about this. All those Lings and Banelings that you have to remake take away from your ability to tech.
Well, Elazer's going to try and get some scouting information, but once again, HeroMarine just on top of things. He really owns this map. He's doing a great job. Lots of queens here for Elazer. That BC doesn't actually have technical trap just yet. Oh, that's a big pickoff. Very nice to get rid of that first BC.
Absolutely. This is not one of those builds where it's one battlecruiser and then you're done. This is the multiple battlecruisers. You want them to really start building up as larger and larger numbers, and then you can continue to get that longevity out of them. So losing that there, HeroMarine is not going to be happy.
Elazer does see that it is mech, confirms that is a strategy here. That is a lot of Hellions, and Elazer pretty much only has Ling and Bane at the moment. He's getting 2 Roach Warrens Fear Dragon to make sure that he has double Roach production speed. I'm just kidding, that doesn't exist.
If only that worked out.
Yeah. If only.
Hellions are going to start getting almost surrounded there by some of the Lings. Actually, the Lings just retreat back and say, no, Queens, you're going to have to fend for yourself. So one of the high-energy Queens does end up falling over there. Remember that there is another battlecruiser being followed up with that second one just now popping out. So every one of those Queens is still very important, and Yamato is finished.
That's right. The second battlecruiser is scarier than the first as it has the pew-pew laser beams. Elazer coming in with the overseer, seeing that the BCs are still being made. Nothing on that tech lab, so the BCs are just continuing to be amassed here for the Terran. And they are actually just a great fighting unit when you have a few of them together with your mech force. It's hard for the Zerg to get rid of them, especially considering Yamato will one-shot these Queens every time.
Yep, high energy Queen getting target fire down, and that means that there's going to be a little bit less transfuse energy. A lot of drones actually already out here for Elazer, so he's on that very, very healthy drone count. He has done a good job of making sure he didn't lose any workers during all these fights. He's lost Lings, he's lost Queens, but never his workers.
That's certainly true. A good point. The 5th base here of Elazer is going to get cancelled. That's just, well, actually, that's a kill. Whoopsie daisies.
Yeah.
Elazer doesn't have a ton of money to do that. That's a big, big blunder there, actually.
Neuroparasites being added on, that's going to be exceptionally helpful versus those battlecruisers, making sure they can't just tactical jump on out of there. As well as, of course, just, you know, the Infestor's still going to have a lot of value and be able to fungal growth down those Cyclones, those Hellions, preventing them from running.
Certainly, certainly. This time it looks like he's going, you know, he does get a couple of Cyclones out, and while he is making tanks now, it's still unclear whether or not he's going to go full Battle Mech or not. I guess usually when you go for double armory, it's not going to be the case, because with Battle Mech, you just kind of only really need armor upgrades, and that's where you put all of the, you know, your priority upgrades. Lots of Queens for Elazer, and the static defense means run-bys are not happening.
No, you were saying that this is one of those maps where those run-bys can definitely be a little bit difficult. Oh my god!
Surrounded. Wrong part of town, buddy.
Well, gonna get a vindictive Ravager kill with a Yamato there, and might actually be able to get one more of these Queens. Has to be a little bit careful, though. There's a lot of Queens over here. Battlecruiser's starting to get a bit lower on hit points. They're gonna get out slowly but surely, but remember, that Neuroparasite getting close to finishing.
Well, Elazer already doing a lot better than sort of here in this game. He's really been going punch for punch for HeroMarine so far. This series is already great, and we're only partway into game 2.
Your Parasite is finished.
Yeah, he's going to be careful. Is there any Infestors here? There are Infestors. They have a fair bit of energy too, but he tactical jumps out of there. Safety first from HeroMarine. As he heads towards the 4th base.
I really like this Nidus Swarm. How do you feel about the Swarm Host and the Nidus Swarm?
I mean, Swarm Host Nidus Swarm is pretty fantastic. It's been you don't get Swarm Host without it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Swarm Host is a pretty good anti-mech tool here for the Zerg. If there's Terrans caught without Hellbats on top of those tanks will go down, and they're great for SCV harassment as well.
Yeah, and remember that this army, while the Hellions and the Cyclones, they want to continuously be poking in at the front. They want to be the aggressors here. It is when you get pushed really, really far back that things can potentially start going awry. And we're already seeing that Elazer, he's getting some good fungal growths in the middle of the map, and now the battlecruisers have to come out. He's scanning to try and pick off these Infestors, but oh man, Neuroparasite does go down on one of the battlecruisers. He clears that up.
He Yamato'd his own battlecruiser.
Oh! Yeah, that was, I think, one of the Neuroparasites.
And he's picking a whole bouquet of whoopsie daisies right there. That's an important unit. Well, here come the Locust harassments here from Elazer, and HeroMarine does not seem prepared at all. This BCC is in big trouble.
Oh boy, Flight of the Valkyries is sounding somewhere, and it is 18 workers. That is some pretty good harassment. I would already say that Swarm Hosts have started paying for themselves.
Yeah, dude, that is so much damage, and that was 3 units right out of the backs of those Swarm Hosts. Big Gabe has had enough. He's coming forward with that mech army. He wants to engage the Zerg directly, and he certainly can. He's got some very powerful units here. Does need to be careful about a fungal. If a fungal hits that Hellbat Cyclone Force, that is his front line gone.
Yeah, I want to note that there aren't actually that many Infestors over here, so some fungal growths getting thrown out. Remember, with so few Infestors, there aren't actually that many Neuroparasites available either, so the Battlecruiser is going to be able to have some longevity. Ravagers getting some big hits on the Siege Tanks.
And even some splash damage on the BCs as well. Softening them up is quite nice. Elazer is getting pushed back very, very far, though. And once again, he's in one of the situations where he's making a very incomplex unit. He's making a bunch of Lings right now. And HeroMarine is more than happy to see nothing, but Lings here with his army. It's just... all these neurals are happening, but for nothing at the moment. Elazer can't finish off the PCs.
Yeah, the Ravagers barely missed out on corrosive biling down the battle cruisers, and now the tanks are in range of the hatchery. The Swarm must have to come back home to defend. Is it actually going to be enough? The battle cruisers don't have anything to worry about. It's just the ground army, and the ground army survives.
Elazer losing a hatchery here, and he is not able to slow down this push of HeroMarine, and he's reinforcing this as well. Yamato's connecting on the Zerg army. He's actually even eating biles on these BCs, but the problem is they have greater than 0 hit points, so they are still alive and they are still shooting. He's tactical jumping down those hurt BCs, but still HeroMarine is continuing to do incredible damage to Elazer.
The low health BCs get on out of there, but hatchery after hatchery is going to start getting picked off. Elazer has more reinforcements going to be coming in from the north side. A lot of Lings in production. Even Desperation Roach is being made at this point.
Oh, man.
Swarmo's coming out. It's not actually going to be enough to do more than just push this back, but guess what? There's another big target on that north base.
There certainly is. Infestor's Burrow here to try and save themselves, and it's just not going to be enough. HeroMarine fighting back, having a bit of an iffy mid-game there. He certainly bled a little, but getting the victory in the end.
Early games seems like it's just Elazer's territory a lot of the time, but these late game situations, that is where HeroMarine has been able to survive to and lock things down. Now with a 2-0 lead in this series, HeroMarine is once again on the verge of getting a 3-0.
His TvZ is incredible. I mean, if you want to practice your VZ, EU ladder is where you want to be. And that's where HeroMarine's been for 9 years, ladies and gentlemen. His TvZ is incredible, and it's very, very hard. I actually fear any Zerg, including our world champ, going up against this kid in his form right now.
Exactly. We have seen multiple times as even Cyril has been one of those players, even in his absolute top form, that has dropped maps to HeroMarine through his immaculate play. Not through just shenanigans, not through just proxy raxes or something, with a really, really solid standard macro play. Elazer has got to come up with some kind of answer. I feel like there are so many little things that he can pick up on, that he can say, I am doing this really well. If I can find a way to turn this into not just an advantage, but a victory, he can lock down this series. He can actually come back in this, but he has to find the answer.
Well, whatever Elazer has in his Zergman utility belt, he needs to bring out something really, really effective here for HeroMarine, because he is against the ropes, man. Only 1 life remaining for the Polish Zerg, and HeroMarine, this is the most comfortable position in the whole world. 2 maps up in a best of 5, and both games just convincing, decisive maneuvers to seal the deal.
We're going to see what exactly Elazer can bust out. Again, he is one of those players that oftentimes does bust out more aggressive plays, and especially sitting down 0-2, Elazer is no stranger to throwing out an all-in when he has to put everything on the line. So let's find out on our next map. It's going to be King's Cove to decide.
And in the top left here, sending out an early SCV. This is the German Terran on match point. This is Mal's Sports HeroMarine.
And our unwitting defender is going to be down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. The red Zerg player for Team Go. He is Elazer.
And HeroMarine's had enough of this series.
Look at that location.
Yeah.
Oh, that is dirty. That is dirty.
And he's getting gas as well, so this actually is looking like it's going to be probably Reaper-based here.
Yeah.
Usually when the Terran sends out a couple early SCVs, it's for the 3 barracks, just Marine rush with the bunkers. But Big Gabe's got some big strats here for Elazer in Game 3. He wants to style on him a little bit. Let's see if it works out.
Now, this is one of those maps where there is a lot of area to jump into that main base from that third base location. So HeroMarine can make a short little jump up to that third base area, and then exactly where our wonderful observer Indy is showing you guys. Tons of area. It makes it so much harder for the Queens to really zone out those Reapers as they're dancing around. The Lings can't just try and ambush them from the high ground like a lot of other maps where there's one place that you have to defend.
And we'll see if HeroMarine is going for just the Reapers, or if he's going to get, like, you know, whether we see more barracks or a factory back at home. He is going for that second gas, so definitely needs that income for something. We've seen like players like Uthermal just get an engineering base, start +1 attack, and go full ham on the Reapers here, but HeroMarine, I don't know, you might be a little bit more careful with this opening, but of course it is very, very aggressive.
Yeah. First 2 Reapers about to pop out. Now I want to note that the fast timing of that first Reaper is definitely going to be the big scary thing here, and that should be enough to alert Elazer, because normally you're going to have like one of those barracks back at home and the Reaper comes a good 15-20 seconds later, but this fast, Elazer's going to know, oh no, he knows what's happening now.
He's like, I don't have Lings, I don't even have Queens, I only have drones to defend against this thing, this ain't good.
Yeah, making a lot of buildings.
Kill.
Yeah. first Reaper already gonna be able to get a drone kill is a really, really nice start, because usually Reapers don't tend to get those drone kills, and already forcing out a lot of these buildings. Remember, with these Reapers able to just control this area over here, if Elazer cancels that building as you normally do, it's gonna be vulnerable.
Good micro from HeroMarine, keeping the Hurt Reaper at the back there, still getting those drone kills. Queen is out here. Don't you touch my babies, get off my creeps. Tries to push those Reapers back. Making a mess up here on the main base, but of course those Reapers are just regenerating hit points and being amassed steal by real HeroMarine. So he is getting the factory back at home, so it's not going to go full U-thermal, but he's still putting on so much damage on Elazer here with these Reapers.
Yeah, still hasn't lost any of them whatsoever. 3 drones killed now. I do like that the Spine Crawler actually finished. He's going to try and burrow this on the bottom left-hand side of this main base. Finally, a Reaper does end up falling over there. Good target fire from Elazer. Going to continue to push these back, but more Reapers still on the way. HeroMarine is not stopping here.
Yeah, certainly not. Just keeping the pressure on the Zerg. No comfort for Elazer, no third base, and no saturated natural, which means that the Terran can start to get towards an expansion, get up those scarier units back at home to make them safe for a counterattack. It's not like Elazer has a Roach War or anything like that. The Reaper's getting surrounded and kind of caught here a little bit.
Oh, but he finds an opportunity to dart over to the main base and can retreat out that path. There's one Reaper that's sitting solo on hit points.
Oh, they all survive except for one here. Oh. Damn, how did they all live? That doesn't make sense.
I love that HeroMarine, after almost getting surrounded there with low health Reapers, decides to jump back up. He's like, maybe I can get some more shots off on those Lings. Absolute confidence here from HeroMarine. A great opening so far.
He's going to use that proxy barracks to land on the third base location and just delay where the Zerg really wants to take that third. You don't want to take your third on the low ground at the front. You don't want to take it to the north. It's too far of a walk. HeroMarine being very annoying here in the early stages against Elazer. Obviously, he hurts his own economy doing this, but this hurts so bad for the Zerg.
Absolutely. You already see that drones over there. Elazer had more than 300 minerals saved up. He's going to just start up a big round of drones instead and says, well, I got to do something while I kill this barracks. The Lings do see there's no natural.
You know, Elazer actually is a 51 out of 52 here, and without a third base, he's actually heading towards a supply block because he doesn't have any overlords on the way.
Oh no.
Ruh-roh.
Maynard, I know what this is called. It's called the Elazer Overlord soon.
The Elazer Overlords.
The Elazer Overlords.
Oh, he only has lava for 2, I'm sure. Otherwise, we would be seeing 8 right now.
Hatchery finally does get planted on down, so he's going to be able to spend some of those resources he'd been banking out. But look at that. Maynard in the production tab, a fusion core on the way.
Oh, baby. Big Daddy BC. The fleet is about to be called in, Fear Dragon.
You know what?
Actually, no tech lab here on the start board. I mean, he absolutely needs that for anything that this fusion core is used for, whether it be ranged liberators or for BCs, but there it goes down. It's going to take a while for him to afford this BC, honestly, but the tech lab does get taken.
Yeah, battlecruisers cost a lot of resources, so still going to have to bank up a little bit, but you want to get up those 3 CCs, you want to get up that economic lead that he's been able to build up from the earlier stages, and then continue with that pressure. Now, the Reapers are still alive, so they do control a good bit of the map alongside those Hellions.
He's going Proxy Reaper into Battlecruiser. He's the in-game version of Arnold Schwarzenegger. If HeroMarine bench pressed enough, he would look as he does in-game in real life.
The testosterone from this man is off the charts.
The deepest voice in all of the history of people. The biggest biceps, the hugest pecs.
Well, now I know why this is why you go for battlecruisers.
Exactly. The manliest build in TvZ.
Baneling Nest is on the way. We do have 1 or 2 more queens being added on over here. I want to note that queen count is very, very important to keep an eye on because he does actually have a decent number at this point. He is still adding on a few more, so that is going to be very, very helpful for when that first battlecruiser pops out. Yeah,
so he does have some countermeasures for the BCs, but it's still a little bit worrying here for Elazer. He's been slowed down so much. Does see that there's no third or anything on the way for the Terran. It's more like a poking at the natural here. And he is going to see that the natural's been taken. Also that there's gases in the natural as well, which once again, and he sees the BC before a tactical jumps. But that thing will teleport very, very quickly. Elazer ready at the third base, so doesn't look like HeroMarine's going to be able to pressure too much here. Obviously without Yamato, can't pick off those queens.
Yeah, this is one of those funny maps though where he could have maybe tried to go over to the main base, but decides to just back off and maybe wants to do one of those big pushes all together with the rest of his Hellions and Reapers. Tries to go after one of these Overlords, doesn't quite get it. A lot of energy available to transfuse it.
I think we might be seeing another mech game here, Fear Dragon. This is actually a very, very good map for BC mech, or just mech in general. Those extra few factories coming down, so I'm looking correct again. Thank you very much, Big Gabe. And it is important to get that third base soon. You know, you need that resources to make sure that all these production facilities are all spinning, that you're keeping up with your siege tank production, or I guess cyclone production, if that's what you want to go for after these first couple tanks. Because Elazer, you know, there is going to be a moment where he wants to amass units, and you've got to be ready.
Absolutely. This is one of those maps where, again, you get those easy 3 bases that you can take on the high ground, so just have to be prepared for some of these Ling run-bys potentials that Elazer has been throwing out in the previous games, but Queen's doing a good job transfusing to stay alive. A lot of Lings getting roasted over here, though, and HeroMarine is finding a lot of value with this push.
This looks so similar to Acropolis, where he's just trading really well against these light units of Elazer. Elazer has so many Queens, so he actually is eventually pushing this back, but it's still bad trades for him. Like, these BCs are still alive. He hasn't, I mean, Big Gabe did not lose a BC in this game just yet like he did in Acropolis, so that's great for him. Elazer, just as Acropolis, comes in with that Overseer, confirms that he is going to be up against the mech follow-up.
Yep. Yamato's going to be coming out on the high-energy Queens once again. I believe there might only be 1 or 2 transfuses left over, so Elazer has to back up and try and regroup. He's starting to re-spread some of the creeps that he's been losing over here. Even some of those Reapers still alive. The grenades actually knocking those Queens around. How often do we see Reapers still alive at this stage in the game?
Not very often. They still, you know, the Reaper Grenade is quite nice. It stuns the Queen for a second, and it means that it's not fighting while it's flying through the air, so you get that extra little bit of damage in, that bit of chip damage. Infestors immediately from Elazer, by the way. He dropped that Infestation Pit as soon as he saw the 3 factories.
Yeah, he started up Neural Parasite for a split second, but it looks like he canceled it and wants to spend that money a little bit elsewhere. Maybe even thinking about pathogen glands or something, but those battlecruisers, he didn't get an easy snipe off on the first battlecruiser like he did in the last game, so the count is going to be even higher. It's going to be even more frustrating to deal with.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, with the Infestors, you can take a great engagement against the Terran. You've got to be able to lock down those Hellions and those Cyclones, and then you can connect with the Lings and Banes or Roaches, just get in those surrounds and just take them down. It's a very, very light army. It's just very mobile, so you got to stop it from being mobile. It's the whole plan here for the Zerg.
Neural Parasite getting started back up again, so he finally has the resources to afford it. Burrow play could be a way for Elazer to start making some counter damage happen, but I don't even know if he has that much time to worry about it. These attacks, these constant pokes and prods at the front lines is so annoying. It's so rare that you actually see the Cyclones finally being added in, and there's still a decent number of Reapers over here for those grenades.
All the Lings are getting us around here on the army of the Terran. The BCs are actually doing a nice job at slowly getting through those Lings as well. Doesn't seem to have enough units here. The Zerg is actually doing an alright job, but he does lose all of his Banelings.
Yeah, the Battlecruiser's taking out a ton of those Banelings on both the offense and also on the retreat there. So HeroMarine loses a lot of units on the front lines, but he keeps some of the Cyclones alive, and he keeps those Battlecruisers, of course, alive.
Yeah, Lazer's at the point where he is all set for economy. He wants to, of course, spread those hatcheries out and make sure he has income all game long, spiking as efficiently as possible for him. He's on 81 workers. That's more than enough to get the job done here for the Zerg. And, I mean, there is triple CCs being built at a time here for the Terran. He just wants to have plenty of scans and, of course, plenty of bases out there on the map and Sebastians to fall back to those planetaries.
Yeah, interesting. We are seeing the 1-2 upgrades, but it's actually melee and also missile attack at the same time.
Oh, I love this from Elazer.
Oh, they get caught, though! The scan. He gets 2 of the Infestors. Nearly gets a third, but the Fungal Growth does come out. Locks down a couple of Cyclones. A little bit of counter damage there, but Elazer really wants to keep that Infestor count healthy.
Yeah, he was lucky not to lose all those Infestors there, and there's their Swarm Host on the way for Elazer. So this is his go-to anti-mech unit comp. And where there is Swarm Host, there is Nidus Worm, as it starts here for Elazer along with the Hive. Now, while the trades for the Terran have been all right in the early stage of the game, they've actually been going towards the Zerg here with the middle of the map. You know, he's been catching those units, he's been knocking down the count of Cyclones and Hellions. And if he can start getting some good Locust Waves, there is certainly an opportunity for Elazer to start pushing back real hard.
Oh, absolutely. There's some great locations where you can get some nice swarms up, send out those swarm hosts, snipe off the natural or the third base, even the fourth base. Sometimes you can even make your way over to some of the production facilities. So Elazer's going to look for some opportunities. The Night Swarm just now finishing up. The swarm hosts have all popped and are going to be walking around, swaddling.
I was going to say, what are they doing walking around? They should take the bus. There we go. Yeah, come on, Elazer. You know how to do this. There we go. Load that thing up.
I have my own tactical jump.
Yeah, that's right. The 50 mineral, 50 gas Zerg teleportation ability. And he's going to start locusing up at that natural. And HeroMarine knows that this is a popular location, so he's pulling those units back to try and hold.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing also about this location. You can just drop out those Locusts and get back in the nice one.
Oh!
Ooh, sniping up the upgrades. That is a very nice pick off.
Could he get both of them here? Oh.
He's going after a supply depot.
No.
Now he's focus firing.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Getting both those upgrades is actually so huge. That's massive for Elazer. Is Terran going to be on 1-1 here? Normally, the Terran has an upgrade advantage, but not going to be in this game.
Oh, absolutely not. Now Elazer's going to have a massive upgrade advantage. HeroMarine is starting to push on to Creep. He has a lot of that to clean up, and that does mean Elazer has a little bit more time. Both these players nearly maxed out. Ravager's going to try and zone out this army. Those are important to try and snipe off some of these siege tanks as well.
Lasers done damage on the map before, but still lost against the push. Can he stop HeroMarine this time? The Locusts are coming in on the right-hand side. Spread of tanks here for HeroMarine. Lasers ground army is going to get those Neurals there on those BCs, taking them out of the fight for now.
But HeroMarine manages to take out those Infestors with the Siege Tanks. Good focus fire. Now the Battlecruisers Yamatoing down those Ravagers. With the Ravagers taken out of the fight, those Siege Tanks going to have a lot more longevity.
Now this time, a good number of Lings actually can help Elazer. There's not that many Hellbats left here for the Terran, so if he can get around those tanks and take them out, he can definitely push us back. And there's still so many Queens still alive as well. One BC taken out of the fight here. Elazer still holding on.
Look at all those transfuses still available with that Queen energy. We're starting to see HeroMarine getting pushed further and further and further back. One Battlecruiser, abandoned ship on the fight. The second Battlecruiser doesn't have that option. It's going to get Neuraled and teleported straight into death.
Welcome to the family. That thing is right on top of all these Queens.
Yeah.
No escaping for that bad boy.
Hellions and Cyclones gonna get pushed back. Elazer takes a stellar fight, and guess what? Those Swarmos, they're off of cooldown, Maynard.
They certainly are, and Locusts are hitting the Terran side of the map again, and that's an orbital. So you can lift it, which is nice. Does he actually? He just doesn't have enough to fight these Locusts head on, so he has to actually avoid this location. And he was also trying to remake his armories there, which got cancelled. His upgrade situation going from bad to worse here.
Okay. The Swarmos do end up just going off after some of the army. Don't try and go up to the third base for the armories. Our couple of Infestors here.
So the armories are actually in different locations, so I misspoke there. Apologies. 2-2 is still on the way for HeroMarine, so that's good. He needs those upgrades so badly here against the Zerg. Gets a BC kill there. Unfortunate for HeroMarine and great for Elazer. Looking to get those Banelings to connect with those Hellions. Doesn't quite get it though.
Yeah, a little bit harder for Elazer to engage off of Creep. And remember, HeroMarine is starting to get back his supply slowly but surely. He's still sitting down a little bit. Elazer, though, he's starting to really commit pretty hard with a lot of these Banelings. He's going to start losing units, including Infestors here.
Yeah, Elazer is certainly overextending here. He needs to be a little bit more careful with these expensive caster units. He does still have a bit more of a bank, though.
Whoa, that Fungal is going to
nice
slow
fungal.
things down.
Yeah, nice Fungal. A couple of vials to get rid of one or two of those units. But, I mean, Elazer is going to have to rely on the Swarm Hosts, I think, a little bit more here and not lose those units outside the map. Just use the free units, leave the other ones at home. Locust attacking into this planetary. Big repair from the Terran. He keeps it up.
Yeah, in conjunction with those Cyclones and Hellions, adding in the extra DPS. Keeping that base alive is of the utmost importance. Another one of those nice rooms coming up in the top right-hand side. But the Battlecruiser finds it. It can even Yamato it down if it really wants to.
I'm not sure if it needs to, but we have the battle mech here of HeroMarine pushing on a creep again, and this is where Elazer should be engaging here on the edge of that creep with the Queens helping him out. Actually loses a high-energy Queen there on the bottom, but he is pushing back the Terran on both sides. Don't chase too far here, Elazer. These units are so important. Oh, the Baneling's actually getting some decent connections, but he shouldn't really lose everything here. He has to pull back, surely. There we go.
Yeah, there was a moment there where HeroMarine is even starting to go a little bit ahead in supply after, I have to say, Elazer has been up in supply for quite a bit of time, but we're starting to see Nidus Swarms starting to get shut down over here. Cyclones actually finding these Swarm Hosts, and a couple of Swarm Hosts do have to be used to push back those Cyclones. The rest of the Swarm Hosts might still be able to unleash a wave of Locusts of that natural, try and find some damage there.
Yeah, HeroMarine playing whack-a-mole here with these Nidus Worms. The Locust Wave is still happening in that natural. He's evacuating those SCVs, but he's certainly going to lose a few more here. HeroMarine still, even though he's been losing SCVs and taking damage from Locusts on the other side of the map, he's on 80 Worker Sphere Dragon. Elazer's big drone count has actually been hit pretty hard in this game.
Absolutely. HeroMarine's done a fantastic job dealing with these Swarm Hosts over and over again. I mean, one split second, you can suddenly lose a lot, but we end up seeing a couple of these Neuroparasites coming out. Tactical jump, actually not into that aggressive a position.
No,
so.
this is a bad engagement for Elazer. He's overextending off creep again, and HeroMarine every time is punishing him for it. Oh, here come those Infestors. Another Fungal goes down, but once again, HeroMarine says, get back onto your creep carpet.
Oh, but this time the Queens were also involved, so a lot of these are going to start going down, and Elazer has to push this back. He tries to turn around, tries to fight this, but he loses every single one of those Queens.
Oh man, only a couple surviving here. These Locusts always find damage, but every time he commits with these Infestors and these Roaches, he loses these Infestors and these Roaches.
And there's also production over here, Maynard, so you might end up losing some of these factories if the Swarmos decide to go after them. them. One of these factories does end up falling. HeroMarine, he's still got an army alive, but he really is starting to push Elazer further and further back. Every single time Elazer tries to, I guess, cinch the whole game, it feels like HeroMarine just says, no, you're overcommitting, get back.
Yeah, Elazer just doesn't seem as comfortable at this part of the game against this composition of the Terran. His Greatest Spire is so late. I usually see so many Broodlords at this point for the Zerg. Fungal going down the middle of this Terran army, and these Banelings are actually connecting very nicely here. So that engagement for Elazer starts off very nice, even biling down a couple tanks.
I mean, Elazer just has some good luck charm for engagements on creep, and I mean, it's actually a little bit more than that. Of course, all the units move a lot faster. It's a big advantage. But Elazer, he keeps moving off of creep and taking these big fights to try and close the deal. And it feels like every single time HeroMarine pushes onto creep, Elazer starts getting some big advantages. Every single time Elazer pushes off of creep, HeroMarine just suddenly comes back in the game.
Yeah, it feels like we're on Groundhog
Seesaw.
Day here. The Greatest Spire is finishing up for Elazer. I haven't seen too many Corruptors in the production tab. There might be some out, but I don't see any at the moment, so it's going to be a while before we see Broodlords at least. I got some Roaches and Ravagers here on the high ground, trying to pile down that Terran army. Does connect with one of those tanks, but loses a couple Ravagers for it.
Yeah. Interestingly, we actually did see Elazer also burn a couple of links with that high ground vision, sort of replacing creep tumors a little bit. But there was a nice one going down in the main base of HeroMarine. He's going to start retreating back, but it's very late on the retreat.
I think this is a Jabate Nidus one. There's nothing in it. Trying to pull HeroMarine back a little bit
that
for
is awesome.
Not anything at the moment. I mean, it's quite inexpensive for the Zerg to do this, so just trying to get in his head.
Yeah, buys himself some time and also allows these Swarmos to actually walk their way forward, but are they going to be vulnerable over here? The Cyclone's going to find them.
They're very vulnerable. These Locusts are going to the north and to the south, hitting for the north and the south, but the Terran army is high enough to actually engage the Locusts directly and chase down these Swarm hosts. They don't have an escape without that Nidus Worm. Elazer knows that he's bringing in all of his army from the south again. Way off creep, but does he have enough?
A lot of the Hellions are trying to roast the Swarmos on the right-hand side, so they're not participating in this fight. We're starting to see a lot of these Fungal Growths walking down the Cyclones.
Yeah, you got some nice Fungals there on the Cyclones. The Ravagers engaging with these Hellions. Another Fungal there on the Hellions as well.
Ooh.
Some Cyclones coming in from the south.
Yeah, we're starting to see more and more of the Terran units coming forward, sniping off these Ravagers, sniping off the infested Terrans. These infestors have nowhere to go, and Elazer loses his entire army with that fight.
Oh boy, he still has these Swarm hosts on the right-hand side, but that is not an army, my friend. He's got more infestors on the way, and of course they will have energy eventually, but remaking Roaches and Lings at this point, you don't want to be doing that as a Zerg. You want to be making Broodlords right now. You want to be making massive numbers of infestors. You want to have a great number of Roaches, not replenishing a small number that you've lost.
I think it's just out of necessity at this point, Maynard. He's got a big gas bank, but no more minerals left over. A few Roaches on the way, really showing the desperation over here as he wants to get out more Ravagers, but Half-Tree's going to start falling. A Battlecruiser harassing.
Yeah.
Swarmos are trying to get some counter damage done, but HeroMarine is on top of it.
Honestly, like HeroMarine, whether he gives Elazer space or doesn't give Elazer space, he's still in a really good spot. Like, he could wait for a few more upgrades, another round of Cyclones certainly to help him out in this future engagement. But he knows that he's been doing very well with trading against the Zerg, and he has also been taking bases this whole time. There are 5 bases for the Zerg, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 command centers for the Terran mining as well. So that is just a rough situation economically for the Zerg.
And the funny irony here is that we were talking about the Swarm hosts. A lot of the time Terran players these days, they're not going for the planetaries, they're going for the orbitals because you can lift them off versus the Swarm hosts. So those are 6 really useful command centers. A lot of them can throw down the mules, a lot of them available for these scans and try and get these long-range pickoffs on the infestors, but here we go. Fungal growth starting to come down from the infestors.
Infestors are getting some nice fungals, but a few of them are dying as it comes forward. The scan's going down on the infestors as well to make sure that he gets punished, to make sure that those infestors go down. The Ravager's starting to bleed in as well. Bailey's rolling forward, getting some nice connections there. Elazer pushes back the Terran for now, but he actually just doesn't have an army to finish him off. He's caught making Lings again. He has no bank, Fear Dragon.
Oh, I think most of the Hellions have been sniped off, so there might be an opportunity for these Lings to get something done, but he needs to buy a little bit more time. Even the Battlecruiser is sitting very low on hit points. It's actually going to get Neuroparasited, using it with the Yamato to snipe off another couple of these units. The Lings do push back those Cyclones. The Battlecruiser will get taken out over here. Elazer, he has been able to stay alive in this situation, but now the Hellions come forward.
I don't think he's going to be alive much longer here, Fear Dragon. This is getting very horrifying for Elazer. A Locust Wave coming in from the high ground here to try and get into that Hellion count. If he can get rid of these Hellions with a nice Fungal perhaps, then he can stay alive a little bit longer.
Fungal growths locking down these units, allowing the Swarmos to do their job. The Swarmos Locust even moving a bit faster on that creep, but still, HeroMarine has enough, and now the Swarmos are mostly on cooldown. Couple of tanks might get picked off. That is a good start.
It is a good start, but he's going to need more than that. Does push back those tanks. The last few waves here of the Roaches pick off the last few tanks of the Terran. HeroMarine reinforcing with some Cyclones though, and there's not that many Roaches and Ravagers here. Oh, a little bit too far forward against those Roaches. But these are trades that the Terran can afford.
Absolutely.
The Zerg, not so much. His mineral bank just keeps being spent on Lings and Roaches, an army that the Hellions and Cyclones of HeroMarine can continue to kite and engage well against.
It is that economic advantage you were talking about, Maynard.
Yeah, the income difference at the bottom, look at that.
Yeah. And now we're starting to see that HeroMarine is, every single time he falls behind in supply, you're seeing it very, very quickly start to get recuperated. He's already evened it up when he was down about 20 supply, not but 30 seconds ago, because his rounds of production are nuts on this insane economy compared to Elazer, who's been losing hatcheries left and right.
Yeah, he just hasn't been able to expand this location. At the bottom of this choke point, Elazer's been trying to take that hatchery over and over again, and every time he does, Terran comes on the front doorstep, kicks it in, and just raids the fridge, just destroys that house. Spinecrawler's actually getting some of these Hellion kills, which is nice, but they do get a round of drones there.
Yeah,
Ooh,
and one Hellion actually still alive. It looks like Elazer's not quite paying attention to this.
Well, that's a very effective Hellion right here.
I would say so. The Lings finally do come forward, and he has nowhere to run with the Spinecrawlers there, so does eventually go down. But that's just 8 more workers. He's only on 48. He's making 6 more to recoup the losses. Those Banelings have been there for a long time, Maynard.
Yeah, Banelings do a really good job against this unit comp, but that is just so much of this unit comp. The battle mech is in really, really high numbers. Yeah. I mean, having equal army supply with the Terran at this point in the game is not what you want to be the Zerg. Keep in mind that all their swarm hosts are 3 supply each, and they are only useful when they have locusts.
Elazer is starting to get mineral starved at this point, Maynard. His income is really, really just starting to hit rock bottom as another one of these hatcheries is going to go down for absolutely nothing.
HeroMarine waits for that hatchery to be done and then just kills it and then pieces on out. He's just been doing that over and over to Elazer. He's more than happy for this game to keep going forward because even though he hasn't been trading as well as Elazer for the time being, he has the economy to back it up. He doesn't need to trade well because he just has the money to continue to throw units at him non-stop.
I mean, this is such a great decision from HeroMarine because if you look at the course of this game, every time he's moved too far into creep, that's when the engagements have gone really, really dicey. I say as he moves on to creep, but those Swarmos gonna be a juicy target for him.
Like I said, they're only useful when they have locusts, and right there they don't. And that's the bulk of Elazer's army. These infestors need godlike fungals.
Oh, they're going to get in some neural parasites and cyclones. I mean, that's something, but unfortunately, even though HeroMarine's going to get pushed back, the losses he just took do not get justified by that.
No, absolutely not. HeroMarine now up in army supply, up in nearly 40 army supply, and he is starting to make tanks again. He's done with these infestors. He's like, I'm sick of getting fungled. I want my big boy tanks to just annihilate this infestor army. The high ground fungals. Neuroparasite?
I am not sure how I feel about that one, Maynard, but you know what? It's working out decently well, surprisingly.
Yeah. Well, he's losing a lot of infestors
now
here,
it's not so much.
Yeah, I expected fungals. I guess he doesn't really have that many banelings.
There it is.
There it is. HeroMarine took a while to seal the deal, but he gets the job done. A 3-0 against Elazer. And Big Gabe, our German Terran from Mal Sports, is our first semi-finalist here.
Absolutely dominating performance over here in the late game of TvZ. Showed some great games versus Sorta, and showed it again now versus Elazer. He's going to be feeling great moving up in that next semifinals match. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be seeing how HeroMarine's feeling on the main stage with Sue.
Congratulations, HeroMarine. Yesterday when I spoke to you, you told me that if you could just make it to the semifinal and secure that top 4, that perhaps you could also be considered on with the likes of the Neebs and Specials and Rainers in addition to Cyril. So now that you have secured top 4, do you feel like you've accomplished that?
Not quite yet. I think I still need to put on a good fight in the semifinals, and I think then at least I'm very satisfied with my level of play, and yeah.
Well, let's talk about the series that you just had against Elazer. It was so impressive. Prior to this series, you actually played him in the group stage where you took him down 2-0. So coming into this series, did that make you feel more comfortable knowing that you had already done that? Or did it make you perhaps a little bit wary that he had something up his sleeve?
Like I've already said yesterday, I think that series didn't really count because it was quite close and I shouldn't have won game number 2 in the group stage. But this series, however, was the best of 5 and a little more preparation got into that series, therefore. And I feel like I have a lot of good strategies for TvZ planned out at the moment. I'm not sure if I have used all of them yet, so we'll see if I play another Zerg in the semifinals. But at least for this series, I still had plenty of strategies to use.
Definitely, and as we watched, it just felt like no matter what happens, the longer the game continued, it became clear that you were very, very dominant. So what is it about this matchup that you feel like makes you so strong the later the game goes?
I think a lot of Zergs don't have the right practice against my style at the moment. I kind of copy the Korean Terrans, how they play Battlecruiser into mech. And nobody in Europe does that at the moment. Most of them play Bio, I think, in TvZ. And I didn't really play that style on ladder. So it's the same as in the group stage of WCS Winter, where I managed to beat Cyril and Reina as well with not a new style in this case, but a style that isn't really seen in Europe.
Well, speaking of Rainer, he might be your next opponent. It's going to be either Special or Rainer. So, Special, would you prefer that TvT, or Rainer is actually someone who you have a chance to get revenge against that WCS Spring? He beat you, and it was super, super close, 3-2. So, revenge or TvT?
I feel uncomfortable against people that I don't know, especially in TvT. And yeah, I mean, Special practices in Korea, so his TvT has to be really good. But I really want to play against Rainer. I like to play against him.
Well, we'll see if that potential rematch is possible. But for now, congratulations once again on securing that top 4 here with Big Gabe moving forward.
Another dismantling of a Zerg here from Big Gabe as he's able to take the series. As I haven't muted this too, so I'm going to do that. But the big question on everybody's mind is, when is he going to change his real nickname to Big Gabe? Because, of course, that's what he's known as now. He's not HeroMarine anymore.
Even Sue said it there on stage, and he should embrace it. Big Gabe is so much cooler than a HeroMarine.
He is.
You know, we say a lot of silly things on this desk. I think this one we actually were pretty spot on, right? When it came to the pre-game talk, when it came to the analysis. When Big Gabe gets in those later stages scenario, if he gets the 4 or 5 bases up and running, he is simply the better player there. Like, Elazer is incredibly good, and I think Elazer is very strong early game. He will defend almost everything you throw at him. Mid game, he's incredibly good. But I would have loved to see Elazer go a little more crazy on that mid-game style, rather than trying to get into that ultra late game composition, because the longer Gabe is alive, the bigger his chances become of winning those games, and that was really quite obvious. I think especially on New Repugnancy, those Liberators were just picking Elazer apart, man.
And I think one thing to mention as well is Gabe talked about it, and like he has a huge array of builds, which was really, really cool. Like he did the same opening in game 1, but then totally switched it up. It wasn't a full-on all-in like he did against Sortov the day before. So he showed the same thing, but it was totally different. So there's a lot of mind games going on, but you're totally right. As the games progressed, Gabe's chances got better and better, and that's just how he plays. He's a macro machine, a monster. But also Elazer, he's the guy that wants to kill his opponent. So trying to play a late game with Gabe, it's not going to work.
Very rare in this game, for game number 1, of course. I see Baneling Connections hit a decent chunk of units, and then I'm like not hyped, because Elazer was just so far behind by some of the later stages in this game.
Yeah, like this was maybe like the most promising part, but you look at it and he's forced to run away, right? And then eventually like all these Corruptors showed up, and sure, he was able to pick up the Medivacs and the Liberators eventually, but by now you look at a 57 drone Zerg. That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. That's not something that you can really work with. That's not something you can, you know, sustain for a long time, because obviously a lot of these engagements, all of the Zerg units are going to fall.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Elazer. Yes, he was good and he was active with his run buys, but I think he should have gone even crazier, man, because delaying these games, dragging them out, was always going to be in favor of the German Terran. This was a weird one though, because that bank in the end, right, it was really bizarre, because a couple of times Elazer used Neuroparasite on the BCs, and then he fired all those corrosive balls, but somehow they missed. And then like, those BCs stayed alive forever. They just never died.
Well, they somehow missed because he just totally misclicked on them. Like, not one of those BCs ended up dying, which was really crazy. Like, this is where Gabe pulled out the mech play, which was really, really cool. And he talked about it. BC into mech isn't often used in Europe, but we got to see a lot of it at Home Story Cup with TY coming over and just destroying people.
This was obviously an engagement that I don't think Elazer should have been taken, even though he landed a couple of crosser balls on the tanks. He's forced to disengage. But then like those BCs, they just stayed around forever. There was barely any anti-air.
And look at the bank, Kevin. Look at the bank
I know. That's what I said before. This was probably the most painful part for any pro gamer, losing a game with over 3,000 minerals in the bank.
To be fair, you referenced some of those better corrosive biles, but there were a lot that were not connecting. Even on some stationary targets, it was a little bit difficult, Kevin.
Yeah, it would have been a lot easier if he was able to take care of those BCs a little bit quicker. And there absolutely were some opportunities to do it in both game 2 and game 3. and I think maybe then Elazer would have been able to create a little more freedom, and HeroMarine would have been forced to disengage a couple of times. But as long as you have those very beefy units in the sky, you feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I actually don't think Elazer played too bad this game. At some point, like, he was really putting on pressure, but then he took a step back and then went to tech to infestors and stuff. And very often I feel like you have to push if you are Elazer. Like, that's your go-to. But, you know, he fell a little bit apart. And one thing that really shone out to me this game was how well HeroMarine dealt with the swarm host. Every time he'd instantly pick up his base, he'd have units in the right location, he'd survive with like most of his SCVs, and that's a wasted Locust wave. Locusts were really good against static mech with the tanks, but it's not what Gabe went for this game.
Yep, it felt like there was a lot of harass this game coming out of Elazer, and you would feel that he did quite a bit of economic damage, and every time you look at that worker count, 76, 80, 82. And at one point we looked at each other as well, it's like, is Elazer still at 5 bases? I'm like, I feel like he's had these 5 bases for a while. Like, Zerg is supposed to continue growing, continue expanding. You look at that creep spread as well, that's simply not that impressive, right? 20 minutes into the game, we have so many moments where against meching Terran. Like, in the end, these were sick, by the way, but at this point the writing is already on the wall, man. Elazer is a 5-base Zerg, and he's down in workers. That's just never going to make the difference anymore.
This felt like the best attempt Elazer would have at this stage in the game, but by this point it was over, right?
Yeah.
There was magic moments from Elazer, but it wasn't consistent enough.
Yeah.
That's the real clincher there.
And that is the series. HeroMarine, aka Mr. Big Gabe himself, gets himself that victory. And we were briefly talking about it before we actually came back on a stream here for a moment, but I feel like Big Gabe could make it to the final here. He could go up against the Cyril and could go up against the Reina to maybe go on to the final with the form that he's showing right now. What are your thoughts? Do you agree, disagree? You can shut me down.
I think a very funny little triangle. I think for HeroMarine, going up against Reina in the semifinals is pretty good. Going up against Special is pretty bad. And I think that Reina actually does have a pretty good chance against Special, but then I think that Special would have the better chance against HeroMarine again. So don't know how this is going to play out. I think it's hard to make these predictions, but that's how I see it.
I think it's a really special one, because like Big Gabe has been known as a TvT beast in Europe, and I mean there aren't that many Terrans, but he always seems to be like Mr. Consistent out of the bunch of them. I remember a WCS at Montreal a while ago where Big Gabe was up against Marine Lord, who was considered better at the time, and he beat him. Then he was against Special and he beat him too, and he made a really, really deep run. So you can also never count HeroMarine out.
Let's check in with our Toby eye tracking moment for this series as a whole, for our first series of the day. Mr. DeMuslim, what do you have for me here from the point of view of Big Gabe?
Well, this is Big Gabe kind of getting ready, like just getting 180 supply, checking where he's at, and then there's one like kind of defining moment. He scans the main base, sees an infestation pit, and he's like, okay, I got to start going now. So he starts pushing across the map. But of course, it's Elazer who's also going to be pushing him, so they have a little bit of a clash here, and we just get to see exactly what Big Gabe's looking at. And here, this is one of those fights where it's like, oh, he's got infestors, he's using the energy now. Like, this is really good for me, because then he won't have any energy later. Makes hitting those bios way more difficult.
Obviously, not to be too critical, because I think it was more HeroMarine playing great and Elazer playing poor, but I do feel there was more potential in these infestors, right? A lot of the neurals, like, I feel like often when you take control of certain units, you're supposed to actually take him out. But it was just like a neural that took a unit away from the battle for 7 seconds, but then they were still there, and the infestor count was never outrageous. It was always 3, 4, 5, 6, but we never had, like, if you only have such low amount of infestors, you better be damn sure that every neural is a guaranteed kill.
And not just that, like neural, it means like your units don't attack your own units when they're neural. Like the best fight that Elazer had in that series was pretty much where all those infestors were on the high ground and neuraled everything. But he never got to save up that energy, or never got the infestor count out that he needed to do that.
And that TvZ confirms that HeroMarine does go through to the semi-finals here, which is great for him, as he confirms himself now. $6,000 to his name and an opportunity to strike out at that grand final. Our next match coming up is a big fixture for a lot of people, as well as we have our previous finalist in Special going to be going up against Reina in another TvZ. However, I feel like this TvZ might be a little bit closer than what we just had. Is that fair to say?
They're very different players of both races. You know, Reina's a ZV bio specialist. Special is a multitasking legend, like very, very different. And the way that they're going to collide, I'm not even sure how it's going to be. Like, the thing is, these guys' recent history has been all about Reina, and Special knows that his opponent is very good against bio, and Special is fully capable of playing mech, but I'm kind of favoring Reina at this point. Honestly, he's a wonder kid.
TvZ, but completely different TvZ, like you said. Completely different styles from both of these guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, the numbers don't lie. In the last 12 maps, 11-1 in favor of Reina. Reina seemed confident upstairs as well. Juanito is just, he seems pretty relaxed as well. He's walking around the building trying to annoy all of us because I think he was bored waiting for his match to start. So he's playing games with all of us. It should be a really fun one, James. I think we're all pretty excited.
And we have a little window next to our studio. He comes up to the window and he's just poking his face, looking at us, like trolling us. I'm like, okay, Juanito, thank you very much. But you guys can be involved in Twitch chat as well at home. Vote as to who you think is going to be victorious here, moving on through to the semi-finals to play against Big Gabe. Will it be Special or will it be Reynor? There is Reynor. Guys, this kid, from all the smiles he brings every single WCS stop, from the confidence that he kind of now exudes when he walks around the place, wearing his Supreme shirts, doing what he wants.
Gucci glasses, you know.
Yeah, I asked Reynor as well. It's like, I didn't see the first 2 games yesterday against Nurcho, but like, were you nervous? And he's like, no, not really, because he all-in me twice and the bigger maps were coming. So I was like, you down 0-2? He's like, no, I wasn't nervous at all. And I was like, man, like, he is indeed oozing confidence. He seemed confident in this matchup as well against Papi, as we like to call Special as well here in the player room. But I don't know, man. I think this is going to be a wild one. I think they're both going to throw a lot of different stuff at each other.
We got to see a lot of Special back at WCS Spring, like going up against Cyril in the final. And one of the things about Special is he's going to throw everything at you and things you've never seen before, and you have to keep up with him. But Reynor, I think he's maybe one of the few that can, and it's going to be really hard for both of them.
I think the one similarity we will have to the previous series is that indeed, I think if the games go super long, right? Like if Special ever gets like a 5-base setup going, I do kind of favor Special there, because I think Reynor is absolutely the second best Zerg player in Europe. Don't make any mistakes about it. But I think that mostly goes for the first 14, 15 minutes of the game. I think after that, there are a couple Zergs that I would actually favor over Reynor. But is Reynor actually ever going to let Special get that deep into the game? That I have my doubts on.
You're super right. He actually doesn't use Infestors at all against Terran, which is like, oh my gosh, that's an Achilles heel if I've ever seen one. So if Special can like lock onto that and abuse that in his opponent, he's going to be in a good spot.
But Reynor is so fast, though. He's so good at finding openings. He finds openings where there are no openings. You know, a Terran player will think this is a very safe little setup I've got going. Like if you lose your Hellions, if you fly a Banshee into his Spore Crawler, Reynor is capable of killing you almost immediately. And I mean, mechanically wise, the kid is so incredibly fast. You saw that creep threat before. This is going to be like way worse, obviously. Like these maps are going to be swallowed up by creep.
When you look at how far both of these could go in their current forms, the current tournament as a whole, who really sticks out to you as the favorite?
I mean, Reynor's record, we went over this a couple times because I think it's such a remarkable strat. He has been allowed to play in WCS events since Valencia last year. So since Valencia, we had Valencia, obviously, you had Montreal, you had Spring, and then on top of that, you also had Winter. Winter was part online. Reynor has never lost in any of these events to anybody else than Cyril, besides one online lose, but I think that's a little bit different against HeroMarine.
Definitely different.
Other than that, he just doesn't lose. He has never lost to anyone other than Cyril. That is an absolutely remarkable stat for like 4 events and going.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I do think Special's been looking very different, though. Like, he's been on a steady climb, but just in this past year, making a finals finally in WCS, that was very strong. He's back here in the top 8 as well, and I don't think really anybody's truly pushed him over the limit. He took out Showtime in the groups, who was looking super solid yesterday as well. I'm just looking forward to seeing more of his TvZ.
Showtime took out Special.
Oh, really? You sure?
Yes.
Yes, in the groups came first.
Oh, my bad, my bad.
So. All right, gentlemen.
Oh, he took out Mana, right, yeah, right.
Thank you very much, as we now head to a short break, and we will have this quarterfinal on the way in just a few moments' time. But before we do that, let's hear from some of our players as to what they think about WCS in Kiev.